Have the eulogy read or told or said by John Bennett.
Tissues ready? This is by far my biggest challenge in speaking in front of people. Had years of experience and nothing comes close to this one. So I'll do my best to get through it. I apologize if I stumble. But I want to thank Mike for adjusting the microphone. And each and every one of you that are here today celebrating Jimmy's life together with the family. I also extend our deepest appreciation for those that were not able to attend today, but have shared their sympathies, prayers, life experiences that made Jimmy who he was. Time and space are only limitations that we impose on ourselves. All life is connected, and we can continue to communicate and impact each other throughout eternity. As Jimmy's mom had said when we were planning this day, it's a kickoff meeting for Jimmy. Let's send him off with joy and love. Mom, you are so strong and an inspiration. We can see how Jim got his strength. Now let me tell you about my life with Jimmy. I've had the joy of knowing him since he was 8 years old, and I can tell you stories for days. However, I only have a few minutes and will share just a brief moment of the time I had with him. Some of these you may not have known, but I'm sure you can relate to knowing who he was. Jimmy, I know you are here and listening, so forgive me if I embarrass you, but it's all with my deep love and respect, little brother. Jimmy was my friend, my brother, my roommate, and employee. We shared a unique bond growing up in a bilingual and biracial household. The mystic connections and similarities between our families was no coincidence. Little did I know that his cute sister Betty would become my wife, and we would tie our lives even closer. As you know, Jimmy's heart was pure as gold. He was quiet and reserved, but his actions always spoke louder than words. He put the feelings of others above his own. He hated to be confrontational and would keep to himself to avoid negative circumstances. So when he did lash out, you knew it really hurt him. If you needed help or asked him to do something, he was the first to offer his time and assistance, as June had mentioned. That was Jimmy to the core. Jimmy was an avid Boston Red Sox fan, which I sympathize. A die-hard Pittsburgh Steelers fan, which unfortunately he shared that with Sarah. He loved the outdoors, nature, fishing, and more importantly, his friends, wife Lolita, family, and most of all, Sarah, the treasure of his life. His favorite color was blue. And when he bought his first home, he painted it blue. He even went so far as to install blue tile grout. It was the ugliest thing I've ever seen. When his mom needed her house painted, guess what color he chose? He often wore his worn out, dirty Boston Red Sox hat to cover up his balding hair. When my family visited Fenway Park a few years ago, we decided to buy him a new hat, but I don't think he wore it that much. He preferred the ugly old hat. While Jimmy never went to college, he did build a successful career at Landis & Gear, later to become Siemens, as a building controls service technician. Many of his co-workers from those days are here today. Thank you so much for being here. You all had a major impact on him, especially John Horn, who was his roommate at one time and introduced him to the field, and where he developed strong friendships, especially with Rick Kropp, who traveled here today to be with us during this ceremony. After years at Siemens, he did the extraordinary and out-of-character move where he opened his own Japanese fast food restaurant called Teriyaki Grill, moved to Michigan to be with his brother John and his family. And despite our reservations and objections, he followed his dream, left Siemens, took his life savings, and made the plunge. Then I would get calls in desperation. He hated the family fights caused by the pressures of being a small business owner. He hated telling people what to do, and hated it when customers would complain about his food. One story he told in particular was, this guy came in and said, "This is not Japanese food, it's the worst I've ever had." And that really did affect him. I made trips to visit him to help mediate the family quarrels and to offer whatever support I could. But unfortunately, in the end, he had to close shop, filing for bankruptcy, and he regretted the decision financially, despite that business failure, but he treasured the fond memories with his family up there, and it was the first time that he jumped out of his comfort zone, and I was so proud of him. So we invited Jim and Sarah to move back to Phoenix and live with us so he could get his life back in order. That's when he wanted to work for me, despite taking half the pay that he could have made going back to the controls industry. He trusted me and wanted to do something that not only made a positive impact in society, he knew the effort to help me would come back in the future to secure his retirement. Again, he did it for the family and for others. It was all about being happy, sharing his time with friends and family, and leaving something for Sarah. Jimmy was handy around the house when he moved in, and he loved to clean. This was our great family benefit. He loved my children, David and Sydney, as if his own. He also got David hooked on old classic rock music and the History Channel. He also helped solidify Sydney's sarcastic humor. We were able to see him with his colored boxers, no shirt, white knee-high socks, and a cigarette hanging from his mouth. Let that image register for a while. After only a few years, he saved his money, rebuilt his credit, and bought a brand new home in Buckeye, Arizona. It was an astonishing and proud moment of his fortitude. Step by step, he advanced to reach his target, and he never gave in to despair or hopelessness. He just did what needed to be done. You may not know, but the quiet, mild-mannered Jimmy was actually very competitive. Jimmy and I would have farting contests at home. Jimmy always won. Let that image register. We would love watching the matchups whenever the Steelers and Cardinals played each other. His greatest joy was when the Steelers snatched away the Super Bowl against the Cardinals in 2009. He never let us forget that moment. When we took him to watch the undefeated Chicago Bears in a home game in 2006, the Cardinals were up by 20 points, and the Cardinals somehow gave it away. Jimmy laughed so hard that on the way out of the stadium, David and I threw away our Cardinals towels in the trash. To this day, for over 10 years, he has told that story to everyone around him. Our coworker Yuya loves to hike and invited Jimmy to go hiking. So he went with Sarah and one of his cousins. He only made it halfway, but he was thrilled that he at least beat Sarah and let her know it. He then went home and collapsed and said he'll never go hiking again. Jimmy had worked for me for nearly 8 years. I made him my production manager, and he hated being a manager. When someone would make a mistake or not do something, he would come to me and say, "You need to do something." He would always do things himself rather than offend anyone else. I would put it back in his lap, trying to get him to be a leader, and he hated it. We ended up having fun. When someone made a mistake, we ended up saying, it's Jimmy's fault. He was adamant about, if you do something, do it right. If you lose something or use something, put it away when you're done. So his famous leadership comments were, if someone misplaced something and you couldn't find it, he would ask, did you check up your ass? I am sorely going to miss those moments every day. And today his co-workers are with us who will also sorely miss these moments with Jimmy. For nearly 2 years since his diagnosis of terminal pancreatic cancer, he endured unimaginable pain 24 hours a day. He always told everyone he's doing okay and kept a strong demeanor. He tried to encourage those around him, keeping the burden and worry to himself. We often forgot how sick he really was. He only wanted to live long enough to dance with Sarah at her wedding, and not before she was at least 30 years old. He shared his heart and soul with me, wanting to live, but he couldn't take the pain. I pushed him to fight one more day, just one more day. I didn't want to lose my little brother. I so much wanted to trade places with him. I wanted to protect him. And then one of those teary moments, he said to me, I wouldn't want you to go through this. John, I lived a good life. I have no regrets, and I'm at peace. When chemotherapy was no longer an option, we explored natural cancer treatments. Richard Yee helped us introduce a clinic, so we checked them out and felt this was a good chance. The treatments helped a little, and he initially gained a couple of pounds. And he had a pain dispensing device implanted for direct medication to the source, which helped reduce his pain by almost 50%. If we could only get his pain under control and build strength, he would be accepted for experimental trial. We never gave up hope, and he didn't either. When the reality hit that Jimmy would not make it, we had 2 days where all his family and numerous friends were able to see and talk with him. On the day of his passing, he had his whole family at bedside. Jimmy thanked and said, I love you, to each person. Sarah was able to lay down next to him, sharing the love they so much cherished together. Then when his brother John asked him, give me a smile, brother, he gave us 2 big smiles. And a second later, he quietly and peacefully passed away. It was as if he fell asleep. I could not believe my eyes. There was no good time for Jimmy to leave, but I have to say, having the ability to be coherent, see and talk to every family member at bedside, friends, his SGI family at the last moment of his life was a testament to his faith and love for everybody. He medically should have only lived for 6 months, but he made it another 2 years. Despite conditions we cannot imagine, he lived on for all of us, taking the burden on himself. We will miss him deeply. I will miss our heartfelt dialogues and dreams we shared, but he left his heart in mine, and I will live on with his spirit for the rest of my life. Jimmy, we made a pact together. I will see it through, little brother. You are now pain-free, expanding and soaring throughout the universe. Refresh yourself, my friend. Let's meet again soon. Let's continue our mission as happy humanitarians together, lifetime after lifetime. Don't worry about Sarah. We will share your love and protect her as our own. I will interview and question every boyfriend. I will dance with her in your place, with your heart in mine. I love you with all my heart.